From 2013 to 2016, there were sightings of clowns out in public. Lurking, occasionally flinching towards someone, the sightings escalated to the point of being labeled as mass hysteria on Wikipedia. The first sighting cited on the Wikipedia article is a 2013 clown sighting that happened to look a lot like Pennywise from Stephen King's It. In 2017, It Chapter 1 was released. The theatrical remake of the book would be split into 2 films. The sightings appeared to cease in 2016 when things began to heat up and people were starting to cry clown, hence the mass hysteria. Although most of these sightings do have photos or videos attached to them. At least one of the clown sightings was a confirmed marketing stunt for a local horror film in Wisconsin. But I've always wondered, was this all a marketing stunt that went a bit too far and cost the marketing team for it to not come forward for the guerrilla marketing? Surely a lesson in what not to do when promoting something like a horror film. But I believe Valve has given us a masterclass on how to launch a product with little to no marketing involved. Or at least that shadow or guerrilla marketing. On August 12, 2024, The Verge published a piece about Valve's secret new shooter. The secret, not very well kept, had over 20,000 concurrent players during the hours of playtesting. The premise was simple. Some users were invited to the new secret Valve game, and those players could invite their friends into the playtest. At the time, the NDA was not really an NDA. Quote, Deadlock is still early in development with a lot of temporary art and experimental gameplay. Do not share anything about this game with anyone. End quote. You could hit OK, or you could do what the Verge employee did and simply hit escape. If you hit the escape key, are you really agreeing to an NDA, or are you simply escaping the contractual agreement presented to you? And just on a personal note, this game was really exciting to me. I had heard that Valve was doing this new game, and one of my friends invited me to play and said, will you download it? And absolutely. And they were about to tell me what this game was about, and I stopped them and said, no. I don't think I want to know. I want to go in blind. I've not looked into this at all. I don't know what's going on. And it was a little bit given away when in the pre-lobby, all of a sudden there were 6 of us, and we were all color-coded. And someone said, so you're going to have lanes. Immediately it clicked. Valve's making a new MOBA. Not something to compete with Dota 2, but to compete with Smite or Smite 2. They're making a shooter MOBA. And I immediately was excited at that. But going back to the Verge article, the point that was brought up in the article is Deadlock was not once confirmed to be a Valve game except for 3 different things. It had the Valve logo when you loaded it up, it's executable and digitally signed by Valve Corporation, and it had text files that appeared to be from Valve. But we didn't really know. The game looked like a Valve game, it played like a Valve game, and all signs pointed towards it being a Valve game, and yet Valve wouldn't speak to The Verge about any of this. Secret is out, the game has a published Steam page, and Valve has announced Deadlock. The NDA is lifted, streamers are streaming, and YouTube pages are starting dedicated to the game. The meta is already forming, and the game is essentially in alpha at this stage. There's only one map, playtest, times last I checked, and new heroes being added. Some of the heroes are still being changed pretty dramatically. It's not uncommon to see a rework on a hero, but it doesn't usually happen until later in the game. But when this article happened, detailing a majority of how Deadlock plays, the Verge employees were banned from early access. Valve has every right to ban them from their early access game, and from the game once it launches too. We tend to forget a lot of online games have that whole "we can do what we want" clause from the developer. What is most interesting to me is that The Verge was also not in the wrong to publish an article detailing Deadlock. Once again, the NDA is not really something any of us agreed to, we all just said nothing publicly because we didn't want to lose access to Deadlock. It's a really fun game. I didn't want to lose access to Deadlock. And to be fair, Valve was probably getting the most genuine feedback they've ever gotten for a game. There was no decided meta. Sure, there's a shop, and players are free to browse the shop and look at builds that other people have created, but there was nothing telling you had to play a character in a specific way. Players were not able to create top builds and share them on YouTube. There was no guide on how to play each character. There are descriptions of each ability for you to read, a store to dig through for builds on each character, but that was kind of it. And if I'm being honest, I kind of wish it had stayed like that for a lot longer. I mean, a lot longer. Everything I learned and changed in the way I played I either picked up from teammates or enemy players, from experience playing against those characters, or from harsh lessons, usually involving death. It took a while for someone in my friend group to be like, we can just block Seven's line of sight, we don't have to stand in his ult. There's a certain amount of transferable knowledge, like claiming camps, crossing the stream, map awareness, which you gain from playing other MOBAs, League of Legends, Dota 2, Smite, Heroes of the Storm, Pokemon Unite. But if you're brand new to the genre, and I have a feeling quite a few players might be, you have to learn a lot through trial and error. These games have a huge skill ceiling. The question I have lingering after all of the Verge drama is this: why has Valve not marketed Deadlock at all? There was no formal announcement of this game, just a stealth invite to Steam players. There's now a Steam page, but not at first. It's just the guerrilla marketing done right. There's no need to broadcast your game when the players will do it for you, especially given the proven track record Valve still has. Portal, Half-Life, Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike, Dota 2, Left 4 Dead. Even after the game has been announced and the NDA lifted, there aren't a lot of articles floating around the web about Deadlock yet at the time of writing this episode. It isn't unfair to say that The Verge threw everyone for a loop and, in a sense, rattled the journalism industry by doing what they did. And it appears to have taken the wind out of the sails when it comes to reporting on Deadlock. Verge got the big break. It's hard to be excited about a new game being announced when you have already seen everything from The Verge. They detailed everything. And yet the concurrent players continue to grow on Deadlock. Through virtually no marketing, the game is getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. It raises a few flags when Sony's Concord, a game I played during the open beta and enjoyed quite a bit, failed to launch at all with an abysmal 25,000 copies sold. The game also had almost no marketing besides an extremely hype trailer, but didn't do the stealth launch that Valve decided to go forward with. People were mad. You had to pay for a game that's always been free to play, despite us complaining about free to play all the time. At this point, I still haven't seen any really official announcement that comes with the excitement of a trailer, teaser, or PR release for the new game. It makes me think of a Wall Street Journal article recently published, "Making Video Games Was a Dream Career, Then the Mass Layoffs Came," by Sarah E. Needleman. The article goes over the unprecedented times in the gaming industry, tough layoffs, countless months of job searching, and a high unemployment rate that doesn't look like it'll solve itself anytime soon. But this quote from Joost van Drunen, chief executive of Aldora and a professor at New York University Stern School of Business, caught me off guard. Quote, "The games industry focus has shifted from an emphasis on growth to profitability and efficiency." End quote. The article discusses how people are playing the same games for a long time and no longer moving on to new games. I remember sharing some thoughts on this in a previous episode, MMORPGs and Addictiveness, but I didn't realize we were applying it to all these other games so quickly. I thought we had more time to relish new games, to enjoy cracking cellophane off of a plastic case, to get ready for the endless onslaught of sticking to one game for years and years and years. And oh, how wrong I feel. And in the case of Deadlock, I'll be interested to see whether Valve's incredible status in the gaming industry, despite controversies as the digital marketplace, will continue to pull them to success with this new MOBA, with no marketing. Think about Valve's other titles. I don't think there's ever been a ton of marketing. I might have seen some for Left 4 Dead 2 as a kid, might have, but I don't think Counter-Strike's ever marketed that highly. I don't think Dota 2 was ever marketed that highly. I don't think Team Fortress 2 was broadcast and shouted from the rooftops. These games just exist. And they're always successful. The no marketing will likely be just a Deadlock feature page right on the front page of Steam when it comes out. There'll be a pretty banner, a pretty footer. We knew journalism within the gaming industry in particular was dying. I just didn't expect something like Deadlock to be another nail in the coffin. Gone are the days of interviews, questions from journalists, roundtables, finding new leads, investigating something, and the days of streaming and YouTube videos for marketing. Marketing and journalism are not the same thing, but they fall pretty hand in hand in this industry. What a brave new world we live in, and how unexpectedly we launched into it. As always, everyone, thanks so much for listening. I know this week's episode was a little bit shorter. I work a seasonal job, for those of you that don't know, and it's getting to the point where it's going to be very stressful and I'm coming into my last push. You might see there will be 2 or 3 weeks in between episodes, or maybe they'll just be shorter episodes, and for that I apologize. But I'm currently writing and reading about this and recording it and editing it all in one day, and it just takes a bit of a toll. You know, earlier in the season I was able to kind of split it up onto different nights and come home maybe Monday and finish a script. And then Tuesday I'd record it, and Wednesday I would edit it, and Thursday I would make sure it's up on all platforms. And then I didn't have to think about it for the weekend. But that's not really the case anymore. You know, such is the life of trying to do content creation. And I'm sure if any of you have ever attempted content creation or are currently doing it, you understand how this feels. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys the heads up. Those of you that have been faithful and have been listening since the beginning, I appreciate every single one of you, even if you've only listened to 1 or 2 episodes. I really appreciate the support, and it will be continuing even if you see just a little, again, shorter episodes or maybe less frequent episodes until my work season is over, and that is in December. So October, November are kind of a big push for me. So here's to more 50-hour work weeks on top of the podcast stuff, and here's to the rest of the video game year. You know, it's not really shaped out the way that I thought it would be, and there's been some really interesting things going on. So I'm excited to get more in depth and get more interviews done and continue working on this throughout the winter season. I hope to see you again next week, but if not, you know where to find me week after that. So thank you all again for listening once again.